Hey guys, it's Bear with the Gimme Camper. Today we're going to be talking about side cameras, blind spot cameras, things like that on our camper. I'm going to go over my initial impressions of the Haloview wireless side cameras, and I'm also going to do mostly a voiceover for how I installed these. The instructions that came with them are nothing. Actually, nothing came with them. So it's all right here. I scoured the internet. On Haloview's website, I found out how to sync the cameras. I think it might have been missing an instruction packet, but once I knew how to sync them, I could figure the rest out. I wasn't able to find any other videos online about the installation process of these things, so I just went for it, and I think they turned out great. I like them so far. The reason that I got them is because of this, if you remember, the whole stabilizer jack fiasco. And so I wanted a way to keep a better eye on my wheels on the side of the road, to know exactly how close I was getting, because sometimes my mirrors on my Ram, they're great, but sometimes that whole turning thing and you're in a hurry and you're trying to see, and it's just, you miss things. And so I feel a little bit safer driving down the highway knowing that I have something there in my blind spot. But mainly this was because of that whole knowing exactly where my tires are in relation to everything else. There's still some kinks that I have to work out, some tweaks that I have to do, such as when I put it in like a quad view, the quad view doesn't come up showing the back camera too. But basically it does more of a split screen with the two sides, and I actually really like that because they're both big enough with the 7-inch screen where I have a decent view, and so I really like it. I think that it's a great setup that way, the way it is. And like Ray on Love Your RV said on his video, which he didn't do a full installation video that I saw, but he did some testing on it so far. But on his video, he notices that the night vision's a lot better on those side cameras than it is the back camera, and that's still the way it is with the kit that I have. The side cameras have six lights on them for the night vision, and the backup camera only has 4. It's really fuzzy, doesn't show anything, but that night camera is awesome on the sides. And the only thing that's a little bit disappointing, which I kind of like it at the same time, it's kind of awkward, but a car comes up beside you and it switches from day mode to night mode. Well, it's actually opposite. A car comes up, it obviously goes into day mode because it sees the light. But at the same time, I kind of like it because it draws extra attention that something's over there. However, it's easier to notice something's there in night time anyway when it's completely dark and the lights are on. So I'm not sure where I feel about that, or I hadn't dug into the settings a lot to try to tweak those things. But here's our installation, and it's fairly simple. The biggest issue is figuring out where you're going to mount them, which was a lot easier for my camper once I figured that out. So the first thing that you're going to have to do is know where you're going to get your power from. Most people get it from a marker light. This one worked great for me because I had access to the inside wiring without having to take the light off. Once I figured out how I was going to do the wiring, then I wanted to figure out where I wanted to mount them because I wanted to get a better picture of the tires. Then after I looked closer, I was amazed that this was going to be a lot easier because I noticed this was just an aluminum panel along the bottom of the camper, and I didn't know that before. So I started with the wiring on both sides. I did do a T-tap in behind that marker light and then run it down under the propane because it was open floor right there anyway. I did put all the wiring inside some plastic wire loom, which actually ended up being the hardest part of this whole process, besides having the appropriate size hole saw, which we'll get into in a minute. Then we just zip tied the wire loom down underneath the camper until we got to about where we wanted to put the camera on the side of the camper. On the passenger side, I actually had to screw it to the bottom of the camper because all that was there was the storage box, and there wasn't any other way to do it that I saw. We were sure to check behind where we were going to drill because obviously we wanted to be careful of any propane lines or anything like that, because that is the water heater that's right there. So after I was sure where I wanted the camera, then we drilled the 2 holes for the mounting bolts. This is where we entered the land of no return, because we're going to be stuck with this thing here now. Granted, I could have let the wire hang underneath the camper and come out to the camera, but my OCD didn't like it. I wanted a more finished look, so I was going to use the grommet that came on the wire. And this 7/8 inch hole saw worked well for that. The biggest problem was that I had to go buy a hole saw because I didn't have anything here that would cut a 7/8 inch hole in aluminum. I then took some bolts and washers that are bigger than the ones that came with the cameras, as well as some Loctite to keep those bolted down good, and we just attached them to the side of the aluminum. Then once we have that finger tight, because we want to leave it loose for adjustment, then all that's left to do is to guide that wire through the hole there and then push the grommet in to secure it. Then we start having what looks like the finished product. Then you just plug in your DC wire, which will split into the positive and negative wire, and you just connect that to your power source that you've run back there, and then everything should be fine. I end up using some red plastic connectors to do it with. It would be better if you had some that had the shrink wrap around the end of it, but I was just liberal with the electrical tape. I also went over the DC connection there pretty liberally with electrical tape. So now that all our power was run, all I wanted to do was test it out, and so I went through the manual, and it said that if you select the camera and you go into menu and you go into pair, then all you have to do is push the pair button on the actual camera. So I did that. That worked fine. I was able to adjust my camera where I wanted it to be. And then now's the time that I actually went under and put the Loctite on off before so I could adjust the cameras. And so I put the Loctite on, and then we tightened those down pretty tight, so I'm pretty confident that they're not going to go anywhere. Then I headed out for a weekend of camping, so we just basically tested this system. A lot of it I was really surprised in the quality and how it didn't cut out when I was going down the road or anything like that. I actually got an antenna that I was going to put on top of the truck, but I didn't feel that it was necessary. Like I say, I was really impressed with the night vision. I was hoping this would take the place of the backup lights I had on the other camera. And I could see really good with that, but the problem was I just didn't trust it. And the night vision on the backup camera wasn't that good. I think if it was better, I would have been totally confident in what I was doing. I think I'll still feel pretty confident after I get a little bit more experience with the system. This week's featured YouTube channel is Grand Adventure with Mark Guido. I hope I said that right. I'm pretty sure that's right. But, you know, his channel's a lot bigger than my channel. But, you know, he's gave me some big brother type pats on the back and just information to help me steer, you know, my channel a little bit in the past. And so that's why Grand Adventure is our channel of the week. So I urge you to look in the description, find the link for that, and head on over there and check him out. He's got some good drone footage, most of the places that he stays at, and I like the way he puts his videos together.
Do not forget to hit that subscribe button.